the open ocean, vast, restless, and unforgiving. For the pirates who sailed its waters in the golden age of piracy, the greatest threat was not the navy, the storms, or even rival crews. It was hunger. Far from any friendly harbour, the only way to survive was to carry the sea's most precious treasure, food and fresh water, stored well enough to last not days, but months. The heart of pirate storage was the barrel. Built from curved wooden staves and bound with iron hoops, sealed tight with pitch and tar, the barrel was a masterpiece of maritime engineering. In the dim, cool darkness of the ship's hold, they stood stacked 3 high, each one holding up to 50 gallons of precious provisions. Rum, salted meat, flour, even fresh water, all locked away inside wooden walls that could endure the heave and crash of the sea. These barrels were not only containers, they were lifelines. A single leak could mean the difference between a full stomach and starvation. And so, pirates guarded them with care. Meat was the most vulnerable supply. Without modern refrigeration, the only way to keep it from rotting was to smother it in salt. Slabs of beef and pork were packed into brine so thick it could float a small cannonball. The salt drove out moisture, locking the meat into a dry, rock-hard state. Stored deep in the ship's belly, the coolest part of the vessel, it could last for months. By the time it was eaten, it was as hard as wood and tasted of nothing but salt. It was food that demanded effort, hours of boiling, hammering, or soaking before it could be chewed, and yet, to the pirate, it was life. Salt was not the only method. The blazing sun and steady sea winds provided another way, drying. Strips of fish, hunks of fruit, and cuts of meat were left out on deck until they shrank and toughened into leathery shapes. They lost much of their flavor, but they gained time. Weeks, so, me times months, safe from mold and decay. Dried goods were packed in canvas sacks or wooden crates and stored in the driest corners of the ship. Pickling gave variety to an otherwise grim menu. Fish, vegetables, and even eggs were submerged in strong vinegar, sealed into barrels, and left to rest. The acid killed bacteria, preserving the contents for months, sometimes years. The taste was sharp and sour. Many a pirate preferred salted meat over pickled vegetables, but when the salted stores began to dwindle, a barrel of pickles was worth its weight in gold. Some food did not need to be preserved, as long as it stayed alive. When pirates captured sea turtles, they kept them upside down on deck, unable to escape, surviving for weeks without food or water. The same was true for livestock. A pirate ship was often a floating barnyard. Chickens clucked in cages, goats were tethered near the masts, and pigs rooted through scraps at the stern. Each animal served a purpose: chickens for eggs, goats for milk, pigs for meat. They were fed on kitchen waste, turning refuse into fresh food, and slaughtered when needed. Then there was hardtack, the ship's biscuit, flour, water, and a pinch of salt, baked into a brick so hard it could survive for decades. It was cheap, nearly immortal, and nearly inedible. Often, hardtack was infested with weevils. Sailors banged the biscuits on the table to shake them out, though many simply ate them. Extra protein on the long voyage. Stored in sacks or barrels, hardtack was insurance. When meat was gone and livestock had been eaten, the biscuits were still there, waiting. Barrels were perfect for salted meat and liquids, but dry goods, beans, rice, peas, fared better in canvas sacks or light crates. Stacking followed a careful order, the heaviest at the bottom, medium weight in the middle, the lightest at the top. This kept the ship balanced. Herbs such as mint and sage were tucked between layers, keeping pests at bay. Rats were constant enemies. Cats patrolled the hold, hunting them down, but rats bred quickly. A single pair could produce thousands in a year. Some ships assigned crew members as rat watch, a job dreaded by all. Fresh water was the most valuable resource on any ship. Stored in massive casks, each sealed with pitch and tar, it was meant to last the voyage. A crew of 300 needed hundreds of gallons, and still within weeks the water turned foul, green and slimy. The pirates called it going rusty. They strained it through cloth, charcoal and sand. Sometimes they mixed in rum or vinegar to mask the taste. During storms, sails were rigged to catch rainwater, though what washed off them was rarely clean. Beer and rum were more reliable. Beer was safer to drink than water and provided calories. Rum, strong and long-lasting, lifted morale and killed harmful bacteria. Every crew member had a daily ration, carefully measured to keep order aboard the ship. The best rum was kept in the captain's private store. The rest was locked away, guarded by multiple keys held by different officers. Still, the crew found ways to steal. Tiny holes drilled into barrels, straws made from bird feathers, even trained animals smuggling bottles. The methods were as inventive as they were risky. At the start of a voyage, the deck could be alive with animals, chickens in cages, goats tied to railings, pigs in makeshift pens. Their noises mixed with the creak of timbers and the crash of waves. As supplies ran low, the animals disappeared one by one. The last chicken or final pig was a warning, the end of fresh food, and the beginning of weeks living only on salted meat and hardtack. Though pirates were seen as lawless, the storage of food and drink aboard ship was a discipline, an unspoken code. Without it, they could not sail far, raid long, or survive the vast, empty stretches of ocean between battles and plunder. Every barrel sealed with tar, every sack packed in its place, every animal fed and guarded, all of it was survival. On the open sea, storms could shatter masts, cannons could sink ships, and enemies could take treasure. But without careful storage, the ocean itself would claim the crew, not with a roar of battle, but with the slow, relentless hunger of time. In the end, a pirate's greatest weapon was not his sword or his cannon. It was the humble barrel, the salted slab, and the biscuit that could break teeth, the silent defenders that kept him alive on the endless blue.